Time stretched itself thin between us, turning minutes into small eternities. Your promise trembled in the open air, unsure whether to stay or disappear. I spoke your name to the quiet corners, hoping echoes might answer back. The wind listened more faithfully than you ever did, returning my words without warmth. I learned how memories sharpen at night, how they cut deeper when the world sleeps. Your laughter still lives in old hours, visiting me without permission. You said love would protect us, but love stood barefoot in the storm. I watched it struggle against the sky, while you walked away without looking back. Every goodbye you never said settled inside my chest like unfinished music. I hum it softly to survive the day, then cry it aloud when darkness arrives. The wind carries your broken promise still, tangled in dust and forgotten prayers. Sometimes it brushes my face gently, sometimes it slaps me awake with truth. I ask myself if you ever meant to stay, or if leaving was always the plan. Some hearts arrive only to teach us loss, then vanish before the lesson feels complete. I am still standing where you left me, not because I cannot move on, but because this place remembers us better than any future ever could. I remain here, listening to the language of absence, the way it repeats your name without mercy. Morning arrives like an uninvited guest, pretending nothing ever broke. I drink my pain slowly with the sunrise, so no one notices how bitter it is. The world keeps moving, confident and loud, while my heart walks barefoot behind it. You promised me truth, but gave me questions instead. They line up every night beside my bed, waiting their turn to be answered. I try to forgive the wind for reminding me of you, for touching my face the way you once did. It does not know the damage it carries, how your promise weighs more than silence. Some nights I imagine you remembering me, stopping mid-step, feeling something crack. Other nights I accept the harder truth, that forgetting comes easier to some hearts. I built a future with invisible hands, using words you never planned to keep. Now it collapses quietly inside me, brick by brick, memory by memory. The stars watch without judgment. They have seen enough endings to stay calm. I ask them if promises ever return. They answer only with distance. I no longer wait the way I used to, but waiting still knows my address. It sits beside me when I'm tired, whispering your name like a habit. The wind carries your broken promise onward, far beyond where I can follow. Yet somehow it always circles back, finding me when I think I am stronger. I am learning to live with what never arrived, to breathe beside an empty space. If love was a lesson, then loss was the final teacher. I carry the weight of what we never became, like an unfinished sentence in my chest. Your silence learned how to speak fluently. It says everything you refuse to explain. I used to measure time in your messages. Now I measure it in how long I can endure. Each day passes without apology. Each night asks me to remember. The places we dreamed of feel smaller now, as if hope once stretched them wider. I walk through those imagined streets alone, listening for footsteps that were never real. You taught me how easily trust can dissolve, how quickly warmth can turn unfamiliar. Love did not leave loudly. It slipped away while I was believing. Sometimes I blame myself for believing too hard, for holding promises like they were unbreakable. But faith is not a crime, and loving you was never a mistake. The wind has grown tired of carrying your name, yet it refuses to let it fall. It presses it against my memory, etching it deeper than before. I no longer ask why you left, only how I stayed so long. The answer waits quietly in my heart. It was hope. It was always hope. I am rebuilding myself with careful hands, learning where the cracks still ache. Not everything broken asks to be fixed. Some things ask only to be understood. Your promise drifts somewhere beyond me now, no longer sharp, no longer close. If it ever returns on the wind, I will recognize it and let it pass. The days no longer argue with my strength. they simply arrive and ask me to live. I answer with quiet persistence, the kind learned from surviving storms alone. Your absence has become a familiar room. I know where the shadows rest. Sometimes I sit with them willingly. Sometimes I leave the lights on all night. I remember how your promises sounded brave, how they wore confidence like armor. I didn't know words could surrender so easily, leaving hearts to fight without defense. The wind still moves through my life, but I no longer chase what it carries. I let it pass through open windows, taking what belongs to yesterday. There was a time I thought love was enough, that meaning it made it permanent. Now I know love can be honest and still leave, can be real and still not stay. I forgive myself for the waiting, for standing where you last touched my hand. Some endings need witnesses, and I was loyal even to goodbye. Your promise has thinned into memory, lighter now, less demanding. It no longer commands my future, only reminds me of my depth. I walk forward without rushing, without dragging the past behind me. If the wind speaks your name again, it will find me listening, but no longer breaking. Say, continue, whenever you want, and I will keep carrying this poem onward, line by line, breath by breath. I have learned that healing does not arrive suddenly. It comes in small permissions to breathe. Some mornings I wake lighter. Some mornings the weight remembers me first. Your memory no longer shouts. It speaks in softer tones now. Still, it knows where to touch. Still, it knows how to pause my steps. I pass by laughter without envy. I pass by love without bitterness. What we lost taught me tenderness, even toward what never stayed. The wind no longer feels like an enemy, just a messenger with poor timing. I nod when it passes, acknowledging what it once carried. I do not chase explanations anymore. They only lead back to empty rooms. Some truths refuse to be spoken, and I no longer force their mouths open. I am becoming someone you would not recognize, someone shaped by quiet endurance. The heart grows different muscles when it must hold itself together. If our paths ever cross again, I will not ask about broken promises. I will simply smile, because survival is the loudest answer. The wind may still remember you, but my soul is learning new songs. They are not about waiting, they are about continuing. I walk on, not untouched, but unchained. What broke did not end me. It taught me how to remain standing. When you are ready, say, continue, and the poem will keep breathing forward, gentle and unbroken. I carry forward the quiet wisdom of loss, the kind that doesn't beg to be understood. It settles gently behind the ribs, a reminder rather than a wound. I once believed promises were anchors, meant to hold us steady in rough seas. Now I know some are feathers, beautiful, light, and never meant to stay. The wind still visits my evenings, but it no longer startles my heart. I have learned the sound of my own breathing, steady, reliable, finally mine. Your absence taught me how to arrive for myself, how to sit with discomfort until it softened. I stopped asking love to save me and began asking it to be honest. There are moments when memory smiles, when it remembers the warmth without the ache. I allow those moments to pass through me, grateful, not trapped. I am no longer standing in the place you left. I am walking paths you never knew. Each step is a quiet declaration that broken promises do not define endings. The wind carries many stories now, not just yours. And mine, at last, is learning how to fly without falling. Say, continue whenever you wish, and I will keep the poem flowing onward, soft, steady, and alive. I no longer flinch when your name appears in thought. It passes like a cloud, recognizable, harmless. What once felt like a storm has learned the shape of weather. There was a time I mistook longing for destiny, confused intensity with truth. Now I see how gently life corrects us, not with cruelty, but with clarity. I keep the good parts without guilt, the laughter, the warmth, the almosts. They do not belong to regret. They belong to who I was becoming. Your promise did not ruin me. It revealed me. It showed me how deeply I can feel, how fiercely I can hope. The wind moves differently now. It carries seeds instead of echoes. Some will grow, some will not. And I am finally at peace with that. I have stopped asking the past to apologize. It has already given me enough. Every scar is a sentence completed, every breath a continuation. If love comes again, I will greet it without fear. I will not demand forever, only honesty in the present moment. I am no longer waiting for promises to return. I am building truths that stay. And if the wind remembers you, it remembers me stronger. I walk forward with open hands, no longer clenched around what was lost. What remains is lighter, and it is enough. I have made peace with the unfinished chapters. They no longer pull at my sleeve. Some stories exist only to be felt, not to be resolved. The heart learns a quieter rhythm after heartbreak. It beats without announcing itself. I follow that rhythm now, trusting where it leads. There are days when the past feels distant, like a town I once lived in. I remember its streets fondly, but I do not pack my bags. Your broken promise taught me discernment, how to listen beyond beautiful words. I no longer fall for echoes. I wait for footsteps that stay. The wind still crosses my path, but I stand rooted now. What is meant for me will not need chasing. It will arrive without fleeing. I forgive you without reopening the door. Forgiveness does not require return. It is simply the moment I stop carrying what was never mine to fix. I speak gently to my own reflection, reminding it how far we've come. Survival is not loud, but it is powerful. I am not the person who waited endlessly. I am the one who learned to continue. The promise may be broken, but the spirit is not. And as the wind moves on once more, I let it go without resistance. What stays with me now is strength, and it is finally enough. I wake with gratitude instead of questions. The morning feels honest in my hands. There is space where pain once crowded, room enough to breathe without apology. I have stopped replaying old conversations. They no longer beg for correction. What was said has already chosen its ending, and I no longer argue with truth. Your promise lives now as a lesson, not a loss that defines me. It taught me the value of presence, the courage of choosing what stays. The wind brushes past my shoulders gently, no longer carrying your weight. It moves like a witness now, not a reminder. I plant new hopes in quiet soil, watering them with patience. They grow slowly, but they grow honestly. I do not rush love anymore. I let it recognize me first. What is real will not confuse me. What is true will not run. There is strength in this calm, a softness that survived storms. I wear it without fear, without needing to explain. If your memory appears again, it finds no open wound, only a closed chapter, handled with care. The broken promise has lost its voice. It no longer rides the wind. What moves me forward now is my own becoming. And I continue, not because I forgot, but because I learned how to live beyond what left. I move through my days with steadier steps, no longer startled by echoes behind me. The road ahead feels quieter, but it feels true. I have learned that endings do not erase meaning. They only change its shape. What we shared still mattered, even if it could not last. The wind no longer asks me to remember. It simply passes like time. I watch it go with calm eyes, no need to follow. I have begun trusting joy again, even when it arrives softly. I let it stay without suspicion, without fear of sudden departure. Your broken promise no longer defines the horizon. It is just one cloud among many. The sky is wider than one storm, and I am learning to look up. I choose presence over longing, now over then. This moment asks nothing from me except to be lived. I no longer wait for apologies that won't come, or explanations that would change nothing. Peace arrived when I stopped knocking on closed doors. I am gentler with my heart now, aware of its courage. It survived hope, and it survived disappointment. If love finds me again, it will meet someone whole, someone who knows that staying is a choice. The wind carries many promises through the world. Some will break, some will hold. Mine now is simple, and mine alone, to keep moving forward and never abandon myself again. I walk with a quieter confidence now, not because I know everything, but because I no longer need to. Uncertainty has softened its grip. The past rests where it belongs, behind me, not pulling. I acknowledge it with a nod, the way one greets an old teacher. I no longer search the wind for answers. It was never meant to explain. It only carries what is loose, and I am no longer that. I have learned to sit with stillness, to hear my own thoughts without fear. Some of them ache, some of them heal me. Your promise no longer echoes at night. It has learned to sleep. What wakes me now is possibility, gentle and unannounced. I trust the pace of becoming, the slow unfolding of who I am. Nothing real rushes its arrival. Nothing lasting needs force. There are smiles now that reach my eyes, not borrowed, not rehearsed. They belong to moments that stay, even after they pass. I am no longer defined by what left, but by what remained and grew. Resilience shaped me quietly, without applause. If love returns on the wind someday, it will find open ground, not ruins, not waiting, but readiness. And until then, I live fully in my own breath, moving forward with grace, carrying no broken promises, only a heart that knows how to keep going. I let the future approach without demanding proof, trusting it to reveal itself in time. There is patience in my footsteps now, a calm that was earned, not given. I have learned the difference between loneliness and solitude that heals. One drains the spirit, the other restores it quietly. The wind still sings its wandering songs, but I no longer mistake them for fate. Not every sound is a calling, not every feeling a direction. I carry forward what strengthened me and release what only weighed me down. This balance feels like freedom, simple, steady, real. There are moments of laughter that surprise me, catching me unaware. They remind me that joy does not ask permission. It arrives when space is made. Your promise has faded into distance, a shape without edges. It no longer reaches for me, and I no longer reach back. I honor what was without clinging. I honor what is without fear. This is how the heart survives, by learning when to open and when to let go. I move forward without resentment, without the need to rewrite history. What happened has already taught me enough, and I am grateful for the lesson's end. The wind carries my breath now, not my grief. It lifts me gently onward, into days that belong to me alone. And so I continue, not chased by broken promises, not defined by what slipped away, but guided by a quiet certainty. I am whole, I am here, and I am still becoming.